We also want to share today about how to play with a cat and how to redirect scratching. One of the things that we recommend here at the Humane Society is a scratching post. The scratching post is covered with sisal rope, and one of the ways Rhonda is encouraging Kino to play or to scratch on the post is by playing around it with an interaction toy. Interaction toys are toys that when you're not playing with them, they should be put away. So that when you do haul them out to play with, your cat gets very excited about seeing them. If you're having a problem with your cat getting used to the post and the interaction toy isn't working, you can also try scratching on the post yourself and seeing if they will imitate what you're doing. Never take their paws and scratch on it with their paws, but you scratch on the post and show them that that's where you want them to scratch. Also, by using interaction toys, it can be as simple as a little piece of blanket like this that we've, cut into strips and braided. In addition to doing that, it also helps keep you from getting scratched. It also teaches your cat that it's okay to grab the interaction toys, but not to scratch people. That's why we never encourage anyone to play with their hands. When your cat sees your hands should be for love and for healing, not for biting and scratching. And we have to teach our pets that, and we can do that by using interaction toys and teaching them what is appropriate. Something else, if you have a individual kitty and maybe you like to roughhouse with your hand, another item that you can use is try getting a puppet or a stuffed toy that might be a little bit bigger size toy that your cat is allowed to rabbit punch and bite at and play with. But again, they won't associate that with your hand because you want to make sure that your pet understands hands are not for biting and scratching.
Especially if you have children. These are great toys for people with young kids in the house. It teaches the children not to use their hands, and it teaches the kitties to leave their tender skin alone. Laser lights too. A lot of people have seen the laser pointers. Those work great for kitties. You just want to be careful not to shine them in their eyes, of course, but if you've had a hard day at work and you don't feel like getting up and walking around or waving your arms around, a laser light might be the toy for you.
Right. And this is really an excellent way to exercise your kitty, isn't it?
Yes.
And little kids love to be running around the house, and if they're running around the house dragging something like this, the kitty will be chasing the toy and not necessarily chasing the child. So it's very important to use interaction toys. Of course, we also want to use the little balls that they can entertain themselves with. But interaction toys, cats really need to have aerobic exercise every day. And so get out those interaction toys or the laser lights and make sure that you're playing with your kitty every day. And then to encourage appropriate scratching, make sure that you have something that they are allowed to scratch on and redirect that scratching either to a scratching post and or they have those cardboard scratchers.
Yep, you can pick those up anywhere for like $5 or $6. They usually come with catnip, so that's a good way to attract your kitty to scratch on them as well.
And they come either like with a toy, I think it's called like Turbo Ball or something, a little round circle, or a rectangular square that you put on the floor. Not all kitties want to scratch horizontally, they want to scratch vertically. So if you can give your kitty some scratching outlets, that really is beneficial to them. Scratching is very natural behavior for kitties. It helps them mark their territory with the scent glands that are in their feet. And so it's really important that we redirect that activity because it's something that's very natural to the cat.
Yeah, all kitties are going to do that. Even declawed kitties will still scratch at something. So it's a good idea to provide something for them
to climb and
scratch on. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Okay, we're also going to show you how to fit a collar for a cat. A lot of people don't put collars on their cats thinking, well, they stay inside all the time. But it's a really good idea. less than 2% of the cats that come into the shelter here ever get reclaimed by an owner. If they were wearing a collar and a tag, we'd probably have a better success rate. So please put a collar on your cat. There are several types of collar that work well for kitties. What you want to make sure is that if they do get outside and get stuck on something, the collar can come off. So there are a couple types. This is what we call a breakaway collar, and basically it clips kind of like a ladder lock clip, but it's a safety version, so if they pull real hard, it will just come apart.
Or if they would get caught on a
they would
tree
get
branch
caught on a
or
tree,
got
right.
caught on a bush,
or
it would
grabbed a
break
hold
away.
of by another animal, you never know when they're outside.
Right.
This would be the other alternative, and these are what we use here. These are disposable, but you can find nicer versions, and it's stretchy. So kind of the same thing. If he were to get caught up on something, he could pull and probably get right out of this if he needed to. So, and you can see we have our little tag on there. Important to have the tags. So when you're fitting the collar, not all kitties are comfortable with it right away. One of the biggest mistakes people make is having it too loose. This would be too loose. You definitely want to be able to fit a finger in between their neck and the cloth of the collar, but this could slip over his head and he could get it stuck in his mouth. When they're trying to get them off, a lot of times they'll try to bite it off, and then you'll come home to a kitty with a collar stuck in their mouth. So you definitely want it a little bit tighter. So we're going to go ahead and tighten it for him here, and he is being so good. He's up for adoption, by the way. So a little tighter. You can see I can still fit a finger in there. He can't get it over his head, and he can't get it up to his mouth. That's how you want it to fit.
Right, and it is so important that, you know, oftentimes when people move, even if their cat is wearing a collar and tags, oftentimes people forget to update the information on the tags, and it's so important. And I had this happen at my home. I had a screen pop out of my window, and one of my cats got out. And so even though your cat is an indoor kitty, your kitty needs to have some identification on them. So
right, if you have a house fire, natural disaster, you just never know.
Right,
So.
it really is important for kitties to have a collar. Also, if you're in the habit of taking your kitty outside for a stroll around the yard, maybe a collar isn't the best answer. Maybe the best investment is a harness of sorts, where you have more control. But please don't leave your kitty outside unattended. There's just too many dangers out there.
That's right. And put some identification on them. Just better to be safe than sorry. Okay, we are also going to show you how to fit a dog collar properly. There are many, many, many choices of different kinds of collars you can use. What we try to encourage is either a nice sturdy buckle collar, like what Miss Dixie is wearing right now. When you're fitting a buckle collar, you just want to make sure it's an appropriate thickness for the dog that you're putting it on. She's a younger dog with a pretty skinny neck, so she's got a thinner, like 3/4 of an inch width. And basically we have it tight enough so we can fit 2 fingers, but not loose enough that it can go over her head. We don't want her to pull out of it. So that's how you would fit a regular buckle collar. Another alternative that we offer here at the shelter, and is a nice alternative for dogs, is what we call a Premier collar. It's very similar to the metal choke chains that a lot of people use. We don't encourage those. You can actually do a lot of tracheal damage on your dog if you're not using it properly. Most people don't know how to use it properly. This is a safe alternative. It's cloth, so it's a little softer on their trachea if they pull, and they can't back out of it because it will tighten as they pull on the leash. Your leash is going to hook up right here, and you can see if she pulls, it'll tighten.
Also, if your dog gets loose with a choke chain versus the Premier collar, if they do get hung up on a fence or on branches, shrubbery, they can choke.
That's right.
And
there's less of a risk with this.
Right. It can only pull just so tight,
right.
and then it gives.
Yep. So. The other nice thing too is if you have a real short-haired dog, a lot of times a collar tight around their neck can cause a lot of skin irritation. A Premier collar can hang loose most of the time and just tighten when it's necessary. So it's a nice alternative.
Right.
The other alternative, and I didn't have a demo to show you, but would be like a ladder lock kind of click collar. Those work well for small breed dogs, but I would never encourage that for a large breed. If they pull too hard, it could come right apart and you could lose your dog. So these are the 2 choices that we recommend.